Welcome back to the show. Up now is my interview with Chris Martenson, founder of peakprosperity.com. Chris is an economic researcher and futurist, and he also specializes in resource depletion. Now, I first asked Chris if the recent slide in oil prices dents the logic behind the theory on peak resources. Here's what he had to say.
Well, no, it doesn't. What we're seeing here at this point in time is that we've got a global economic slowdown, which we can talk about in a bit. But the world supply of oil right now is really coming from new sources, from places which are very expensive, like shale oil or tight oil from ultra deep water, things like that. And this bear market in oil, I think, has a confluence of factors that we need to look at in concert, not the least of which is Saudi Arabia and what they're doing and telegraphing to the world, and what's going on with the global slowdown right now. But here's what's going to happen if Saudi Arabia persists in helping to keep oil prices low for, let's say, a long time, 6 to 12 months. We're going to see all of these new extra projects out there, the deep water projects, the more marginal plays in shale oil, places like that. Those are going to experience a lot of slowdown in activity, and this is just setting us up, I think, in the future for a bit of tightness in the oil supply should the global economy come roaring back.
Chris, isn't the most important question in the energy space how much energy does a specific source yield on net? I mean, after all, it kind of takes energy to extract energy, does it not?
It absolutely does. And if it takes you 1 barrel of oil to get a barrel out, it doesn't matter how many barrels there are to get. You're using one to get one. It's a very easy concept, but somehow it's not talked about all that often. What we're seeing in the new oil finds, the things that we are finding in the world, that these would be the tar sands out of Canada, the Orinoco tar oils that we get out of Venezuela, the stuff that was just announced for Russia up there in the Arctic, really exceedingly difficult, expensive stuff to get out. And by expensive, that's just a euphemism for it takes a lot of energy to get energy out. You and I and everybody listening to this, we don't care about anything except the extra oil that's left over after the oil people go out and get it, find it, bring it to market. It's the surplus that drives the overall economy.
So, yeah, it's kind of like what you're saying. Isn't that what's driving prices higher? I mean, the fact that less net energy can be extracted from available sources at any given price?
Well, that's certainly driving it. You know, there's always an idea in any commodity play, although oil to me is a very special commodity, that the marginal cost to get a new unit of that to market is kind of the floor on prices. So we're right at what now, at $85 a barrel for WTIC, 88 for Brent, we're right at what many consider to be the floor for new oil discoveries. And so if we stay here at this floor for too long, you're going to find more of the marginal things aren't going to be prosecuted. If it goes even lower than this, there's actually going to be a lot of damage inflicted on ongoing projects, ongoing companies who are playing at the boundaries of this expensive oil. But you're absolutely right. Expensive oil simply means that we're getting less net energy back for our efforts. That's the world we live in right now.
Now, I've heard the refrain higher highs and higher lows used to describe the backdrop for oil. So is the crash in oil a typical bust, but to a higher plateau, or will prices drop a lot from here?
Well, we certainly saw a huge plunge in 2009 in the aftermath of the run-up of oil prices to 147 a barrel in July of 2008. But on the back of a very, very large contraction in the world economy, you can see oil can go low. It couldn't stay down there forever. I mean, remember, Aaron, it went from 147 down into the 30s. That was an enormous decline. But it couldn't stay there for long because the new floor for production is at least $80 a barrel as far as I'm concerned. It might be a lot higher once you put in the all-in costs, which for some of these nation states that are running off of their oil, Mexico, Russia, Saudi Arabia, you pick them, where they need to have a very high oil price, not just to support the additional oil extraction, but to run their governments and to fund parts of what they're doing in their societies. So the new floor has to be somewhere right around here, but could oil go lower? Sure, for a while, but for that I'm going to need to see the global economic slowdown really begin to bite.
Now, we've heard reports that OPEC's swing producer, Saudi Arabia, is willing to accept even lower oil prices in the short term in order to, shake out higher cost producers. But at $70 a barrel, how profitable can fracking and deep water drilling be?
Well, not terribly. It's going to be not very profitable at all. And we already know that we're looking at, if you look at the shale operators as a group, how many years into this story are we? Well, many of them got really rolling 2007, 2008, certainly by 2009. So here we are 6, 5, 4 years into this story, depending on where we want to start marking it. That's plenty long because remember, these shale wells, they tend to deplete about 85% in the first 3 years. So after you've got a whole stable of these things running and you have some depleting off of your curve and you're hitting your stride and you found your sweet spots and you're drilling, this is where we would typically want to see these producers producing the cash. Where are the free cash flows? When you look at these North American operators in shale, one of the things we discover that they're really short on is free cash flows. Almost all of them are a negative free cash flow situation, meaning their operating earnings less their capital expenditures gives you a negative number. This tells us that they're spending an extraordinary amount of money to keep the drill programs going, and there's a very open question as to whether they're going to be able to coast into profitability, true profitability, spinning out positive free cash flow, even at the higher prices of oil we had. At these prices, I guarantee you there are shale operators who are going to get in trouble because they're working plays where you just can't even turn a paper profit, let alone an actual free cash flow profit at oil prices down here in the range we're in.
Right, but not all of them are going to go out of business. Like that's not possible, is it?
No, but quite a few of them are very, very highly levered up. Even the major international oil companies are very heavily levered up at this point in time. They've taken on an extraordinary amount of debt, and they've gotten great terms on that, like everybody, you know, with interest rates so low. But at this rate, they're really, with oil at these prices, they're going to really see profitability get hit. Some of them are going to get in absolute trouble, no question about it. They're in more marginal plays. They're running riskier wells. They don't have the capital buffer, and they're counting on this rollover of their debt loads in the capital markets. That's something that usually gets shaken up when you have a bit of a shakeout in these industries. People don't want to lend into an industry that's now hemorrhaging money. They find capital conditions tighter, interest rates go up. The marginal players get in a lot of trouble. But absolutely, I'm looking for many of the deep water, ultra deep water, Arctic plays, things like that, to go on the shelf even now at this point in time. I guarantee these plans are being shelved.
That was Chris Martenson, founder of PeakProsperity.com. Time now for today's Big Deal.